Alrighty, so first things first, really quick introduction to how much I know about Code Vein. I've already seen a little bit of it, so I've been following it since the original E3 teaser, and the little bit of gameplay that they've been showing. And the main thing that it appeals to me for is that it's got that like Dark Souls appeal to it, so it really like scratches that itch for something that's in the vein of vein in the vein of Dark Souls, without actually being another Dark Souls game, because we know nothing's gonna come out until something like Elden Ring. So basically, yeah, I've played the network test, which was a few months ago, so I already know like what the demo level is gonna be about and what exactly they're gonna have. Supposedly, they're gonna have a new area in the depths once you're finished with the demo area, and they've made a few changes to make the game feel nicer, a bit more responsive, and be a bit more optimized. So I'm gonna be looking forward to that, and trying to play that and showing you guys, what's maybe been changed, and just giving you a little overview of what the demo is about. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on the character creator. I'm sure there's plenty of videos on that. So right now I'm basically just gonna skip forward into the actual game, and I'll go ahead and we'll rejoin once I'm done making my character. Okay, so I've gone ahead and went ahead with the character creation. I made this character. She's nothing special. I just like the combination of red and black, and the hair looks nice. And so I've also gone ahead and changed the language to Japanese because I just like the way it sounds. I don't understand a single bit of it. Maybe few phrases here and there, but nothing that I can actually say like, wow, I can play this in Japanese. No, it just sounds cool. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started. I'm gonna try to be quiet for any cutscenes or anything like that, and we will go from there.
そうそれがあなたの姿やっと会えるね
Okay. So this is a tutorial section. I've already seen, this area before, especially in the network test. I'm gonna take a moment to adjust the camera here. A lot better. Nice. Probably don't need it any more than that, so I'm gonna keep it like this. My character looks okay. The cool thing about the character creator is that you can change it at any time. You can change everything except your like body type, and then your like facial shape, and then everything else like you can manage however you want. Skin color, the way certain things look, like the hair, everything. So that's really good. You don't have to make like 20 characters for one playthrough.
やっと会えたね意識はしっかりしているあなたはこれから不死の存在レブナントとして目覚めの時を迎えるレブナントとして生きるために知っておいてほしいことがあるのよく聞いてレブナントはその血にブラッドコードという特別な力を宿すのどんな力のブラッドコードが自分に宿っているのか実際に試して確認してみて
So the menu's a little bit like sort of complicated, but luckily everything's like at the very least like icon set, so like you don't have to navigate too much. It's pretty straightforward there.
そのブラッドコードはファイターと呼ばれるものね戦闘に有利なブラッドコードよブラッドコードの持つ一つ一つの力は連結と呼ばれているのファイターは耐久力が恒久的に上昇する連結を持っているわ他には 一時的に攻撃力を増加させる連結もあるみたい。この連結を使ってみましょうか。
So the cool thing
それじゃ
about
あ使ってみて。
okay. So the cool thing about Code Vein that I really appreciate is the whole blood code system. So in games like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, whenever you're leveling up, you have to spec yourself into like dexterity, strength. So you have to basically, if you really want to be effective, you do have to consider what you want to be and what kind of weapons you want to use, and then build from there. And then by, you know, midway to the end of the game, you have a character that's specialized in one specific thing. With with Code Vein, all of your stats are pretty much like just normalized. Like when you level up, you don't spec anything into anything. You just increase your power, and then your blood code determines how everything's going to go ahead and be split up. So, you know, the fighter blood code is like, oh, well, almost everything gets spec'd into endurance, blah, blah, blah. It'll basically, instead of telling you have 40 points in dexterity, 40 points in strength or whatever, it'll give you like a set, like, I guess a set base value. And then each code gives you like a skill ranking. So like, it's like from D to A, or like D to A, something like that. And basically that determines how hard that stat will scale off of the base stat. Like, I'll explain once I bring up the menu, but let's get through this tutorial real quick.
上出来ね。連結は事前に準備しておかないと効果を発揮しないから気をつけてね。大事なことを言い忘れてた。連結を発動するためには特別な血が必要なの。自我を失い化け物になり果ててしまったレブナント、ロストの血が。その武器でロストを攻撃すれば敵の命血を吸収することができるから覚えておいてね。これがファイター、そして連結についての基礎知識。それぞれの特性を見極めることが重要なの。
Alright, let's try this out. This is very Dark Souls. And of course I keep forgetting about the stamina bar.
お疲れ様。本来ブラッドコードは一人の一つ。だけどあなたは違う。あなたがもともと持っていたブラッドコードはすでに壊れ消失してしまった。だからこそあなたには無限の可能性がある。あなたはブラッドコードを切り替えることのできる特別な存在。ほら、心の奥底に目を向けてみて。
So now that I'm here in the blood code menu, you'll actually be able to see in the blood code, obviously the left section over there is going to show you like the different blood codes you have, and on the right it'll tell you like how it's going to affect all the stats. So right now I have the fighter, and you can see, you know, in the stat screen you have your HP, stamina, ichor, etc. And then underneath is like the scaling for like your base stats. So your strength, it's a B plus in scaling. So whatever you use, like a strength weapon or anything that depends on your strength stat, that's what's going to get boosted the most. And then you'll see when I highlight the ranger, it'll show you the new stats, how much your individual values change. So you can see like the actual stat focus on the left there. So strength is now C, dexterity is now B, which means this is a very dexterity focused build. And then luckily you can see like how it's going to affect your real-time stats, like your weapon damage, your mobility, and like it'll show you in a numbers basis, hey, this is what all your stats are going to do. It's not just like guesswork. You don't put like, you know, well, it's still kind of like Dark Souls, because even when you go ahead and, you know, spec into something, you can see the AR of your weapon. So this shows you exactly everything, your defenses and everything, and how everything's affected. And of course, the different blood coats also affect how you wear, you know, use different equipment. So just like Dark Souls, but because you're switching it on the fly, it's going to be a lot more noticeable. Oh, I can't wear this anymore if I want to play in this particular manner.
そのブラッドコードはレンジャーと呼ばれるものね。あら、今のあなたにはその武器は重すぎるみたい。レンジャーは器用さに優れていて、軽い武器での戦闘を得意とするの。武器を銃剣に持ち替えてみましょうか。
One thing in terms of what mobility affects for your equipment is that if you look at your, well, I can't actually put my stats, let me see. Yeah, if you look in the middle column, you'll see a weapon's mobility stat. And the mobility stat isn't like Dark Souls, where if you have a certain amount of weight, you know, you can only roll so far or do certain things in terms of, like, you know, your dodging and your backstepping. And here it's all on a weapon per weapon basis. So you can hold one weapon and have a like a normal mobility stat, and then just really quickly switch to another weapon that you still have equipped, and it'll have a different mobility stat too. That way, you know, you don't have to really wrestle with, do I dodge, like, can I dodge in this situation or not, or like, oh, I need to lower my equipment to get better. It's, no, I know this weapon gives me this much weight, I can go off of that. So right now you see that my weapon 2, which is a great hammer that I can't wield because my stats aren't good enough for it, the mobility's slow, and that's basically the equivalent of like a fat roll. So you have a little bit of startup to your roll, and you know, don't look very it's obviously not the kind of dodge that you'd use to really on a dodge focus build, maybe on a block build. I'm glad this hasn't changed from Dark Souls. So when you switch weapons to this, even though I still have the Great Hammer equipped, you can tell my roll is a lot more agile, a lot better. And now when I switch to the bayonet, which basically, you know, slash, pierce, you see the weight distribution, the mobility is still normal. It doesn't affect how one weapon or another, you know, works. It just changes, you know, this specific weapon equipped, how that works for me.
明血が必要なの。連血を使うことも考えると、どうしても明血不足になりがちよね。その時はあなたが装備している画装の出番よ。画装を使えばロストから一気に吸血することができるの。さらに明血を保持しておける最大量まで伸ばすことができるから、敵から吸血できるチャンスは逃さないようにしてね。
So, the Blood Veil is like basically the single most unique thing about this game, in that aside from the weapon you have equipped and how you attack, you have the, you know, the third special type weapon that you have equipped at all times that basically makes up like, you know, like the core of like Code Vein, its themes and everything. So as you can see, it lets me do a variety of things. So your X button, at least whatever you decide to assign your drain attacks to, it's your dedicated drain button. So the Blood Veil I have equipped, I believe, is the claw. So whenever I go to attack, I can hold down the X button. It has a decent charge up, but as soon as it's charged up, like, it's basically ready to go. You know, I take this whole very, very anime stance. Really cool. I love it. And it unleashes like one strong attack that, you know, hits hard, knocks down, and if you look at my Icar count on the bottom right next to where it says R2, 16 out of 16, it should increase it by 2 every time I land a heavy attack. It's a big attack, and, you know, normally it would knock down, but I guess in this situation it doesn't. for a combo drain, you have to do it in the middle of a combo. You just hold R1 and then press X, and you basically do like a quick attack after an attack, like quickly. So, and that just gives you just +1 to your maximum Ichor, but it's still pretty effective. And then back attacks are the whole cinematic backstab. Gotta love it. And you can backstab fish in this game. I've tried it on the network test. It's a really easy way to get rid of enemies. So I like that it draws inspiration from Dark Souls in terms of how easily you can break it.
レンジャー、そして吸血についての基礎知識。もう一つのブラッドコードも試してみましょうか。さあ、心の奥底に目を向けてみて。
Kiasta. Let's see. So the caster, looks like the main thing is that it buffs mind and willpower. And it gives me a lot more base Ichor, as you can see on the left. So you can tell this is definitely, like it says, powerful attack type gifts that can be used from a distance. And like the name implies, it's for casting.
おとぎ話に出てくる魔法使いのような能力を持っているの。連結を使うことで血を弾丸のように射出することができるわ。
Let's see. Bloodshot.
さすがね。飲み込みが早いわ。ブラッドショットは威力よりも射程を優先した連結なの。そうね。他の連結を習得してみましょうか。宿り木に触れることで連結を習得することができるわ。探してみて。
The missiles are missile, however you pronounce it. It's the game's equivalent to bonfires. It does everything a bonfire does. This is one thing they changed from the network test and previous demos before. Originally, when you rested on a missile, it would go into pure white and then it fades back into the screen. Now it does the opposite. It fades black and then comes back. It's easier on the eyes, so I personally don't have any opinion on the change. So this is, of course, your inherit menu. So here you can learn, the different stats and the like. So we're just learning the one. You learn your skills using the haze, I believe it's called, that you gain from defeating enemies. And haze is the game's equivalent of souls. You gain them by defeating enemies and certain collectibles in the field. And you use them to learn codes and to level up. And of course, when you die, you do lose all of it, but you can run back to your death spot to retrieve the ones that you lost, unless you die again. Once you become fully proficient with a gift, you will unlock the power to inherit it. And inheritance is being able to use that skill with a different blood code. That's basically what it is. So all the blood codes have their own set of unique skills and a selection of skills that are locked specifically to that blood code, but a chunk of them are inheritable skills that you can use cross code. So it makes it really flexible because you can still have a code for every occasion, and still use some abilities that you think are useful or will give you an advantage, even offensively. But the specialization of each code is what's really going to determine how effective it is. So I can use a offensive type gift with a code that focuses on melee, and it's not going to be really effective, but I can use it. It's not restricted to me. I can use it maybe to pepper an enemy or just as bonus damage when they're getting too far away. But if I really want it to shine, I should combine the gift type with a blood code that supports it. So a dark gift that's offensive, I should support it with a blood code that specializes in offensive magic
それ
type
と
damage.
装備する画装によって威力が変わったりもするの。使用する連結の特性、画装との相性、少し複雑だけど頭に入れておいてね。
Fighting Racia's proficiency with any gifts. Gifts, however, have stat requirements. Even gifts you have mastered cannot be used if you do not meet their stat requirements. That pretty much says it all. Fool. Ooh. Okay. That's one thing they did change from the... Hold on, let me try that again. The bayonets usually sounded really weak. At least this one sounds like you're shooting. It's not just a... how it was in the previous ones. Like, now it actually sounds like a gunshot. Even if it's still a little bit weak, but that's
お
alright.
疲れ様。駆け足だったけど分かってもらえたかな。あなたは自身のブラッドコードを失った特別な存在だからこそ無限の可能性がある。ブラッドコードの切り替えだけじゃなく新たなブラッドコードを取り込むこともできるはず。人の力を自分のものにする。これはあなたにしかできないこと。あなたにしかできないことがある。あなたの血でしか救えないことが。さあ目を覚まして世界を救って。
Okay, that was a pretty long tutorial. I didn't realize it took like 20 minutes. So I'm probably going to go ahead and cut this off here and just label it prequel episode or something like that. And I'll go ahead and we'll be waiting for the next part to continue the story.